ठीक है, मैं कर। अस्सलाम वालेकुम। I am Dr. Uzma Manzoor. Today we will discuss the polyhydramnios. First of all, definition. We will define these polyhydros on the ultrasonography. When the mean vertical pool, which is more than 8 centimeter, it is the polyhydros. Or when the amniotic fluid index is more than 95 centile for that gestation, it is also polyhydros. The mean vertical pool which we should measure should be diploid of the fetal limbs and the cord. Incidence of the polyhydramnios is 1 to 3.5%. Now, as I told you, the diagnosis is on the ultrasonography by two measures: by the deepest vertical pool, by the amniotic fluid index. The amniotic fluid index, how we will measure? We will measure this by measuring the gravid uterus on the 4 quadrant. Then we will see the deepest vertical pool in the 4 quadrant. Then we will summate this one. It is a more sensitive test for the estimation of the amniotic fluid. You can see in the picture, it is a deepest vertical pool. There is no fetal parts, no limbs of the fetus, so only the amniotic fluid we can see here. Severity. We will define this polyhydros into the 3 grades: mild, moderate and the severe. Mild polyhydros is defined when the amniotic fluid index is more than 25 centimeter, or when the mean vertical pool is up to 8 centimeter. And moderate polyhydros is defined as 32 to 45 centimeter is the AFI, and if it is the mean vertical pool, it should be 11 centimeter. Severe polyhydros is defined when it is the amniotic fluid index is more than 45 centimeter and the mean vertical pool is up to 15 centimeter. In case of mild polyhydros, there is a 2% chance of the fetal anomalies. In case of the severe polyhydramnios, there is 11% chance of the anomalies. Now, amniotic fluid, how it is produced? In early pregnancy, it is a transportation of the fetal plasma across the amnion, covering the fetal skin and the placenta. And in the late pregnancy, it is the fetal kidneys which are producing the urine. It is the urine actually, up to the after the 16 weeks of the pregnancy. Now, what is the function of the polyhydros? This is normal amniotic fluid. Normal amniotic fluid, it is the protective environment free of the undue pressure from the outside. It will allow the all fetal movements and avoid the limb contractures. It will prevent the adherence formation between the limbs. So it is very important for the fetus. Etiology. Now, what happens when this polyhydros is produced? First of all, swallowing remove the liquid as a whole. It is including the solid and the liquid components. If swallowing impairs, it stops the removal of the fluid components. Disposal of the fluid component does not cause any problem because it can pass through the amnion, but solid component cannot cross it through the amnion, so it will cause the retain of the fluid result in the polyhydros amnions. So causes. Now causes, in 50% of the cases it is idiopathic. In remaining causes we can divide in the maternal, fetal and the placental causes. Maternal causes, if patient is diabetic and it is uncontrolled diabetes, then it will cause a polyhydros. In Rh isoimmunization, if patient is Rh negative and husband is positive, then Rh isoimmunization will lead to the polyhydros. Then some infection like syphilis and the cytomegalovirus infections, torch infection, it will also lead to the hydrophatalis and the polyhydramnios. Fetal causes. Twin to twin pregnancy. Twin pregnancy and there is the complication, twin to twin transfusion. In one fetus it polyhydros, in other fetus it is the oligohydros. So it will lead to the polyhydramnios. Then multiple fetal anomalies, anencephalic fetus, duodenal atresia, neural tube defects, and spina bifida, meningomyelocele. All these anomalies, if fetus has, it will lead to the polyhydramnios. Placental causes, it is a chorioangioma. Now, what are the risk factors? Why we are worried for the polyhydramnios? These are due to the maternal risk factors and the fetal risk factors. Maternal risk factor, it can lead to the preterm labors, abruption, cord prolapse and malpresentation. So it will increase the risk of the operative deliveries and the cesarean sections, postpartum hemorrhage. Fetal anomalies, it will lead to the multiple anomalies, prematurities, perinatal morbidity is increased due to prematurity especially. and mortality will increase 2 to 3/4 due to the polyhydramnios. Management. First of all, we will do the valuation investigation, and then we will do treatment according to the severity of the polyhydramnios and the cause of the polyhydramnios. Diagnosis. First of all, the detailed history we will take. We will see patient has the symptoms of the abdominal diabetes mellitus, red blood cell aluminization, and if she has taken any drug injection. Then we will ask what kind of symptoms she has due to this polyhydro. If there is any maternal discomfort, there is preterm labor, there is any respiratory distress. Then after this history, we will do the high resolution ultrasound, because ultrasound is the only diagnosis for the polyhydramnios. On ultrasonography, we will do the degree of the hydramnios by measuring the amniotic fluid index and the deepest vertical pool. Presence of the multiple pregnancy we will see. Then growth deficiency or macrosomic fetus is there or not, we will see all on the ultrasonography. Then structure anomalies, as I told you that duodenal atresia is there and encephalocele. These anomalies also we can pick on the ultrasonography. Now differential diagnosis for the large for dates. So if patient has the mistaken dates, then it can be lead to this polyhydros. Fetal macrosomia, multiple pregnancy. If there is a uterine fibroid with the pregnancy, so the size of the uterus will be increased. It can lead to the differential diagnosis of the polyhydros. Then ovarian cyst. Now what investigation we will do for the polyhydramnios patient? Sorry. First of all, the oral glucose tolerance test to rule out the diabetes mellitus. Then blood group and RH factor to see patient is whether is blood group negative and husband is positive. It can lead to the RH isomerization. Then we will do the ultrasonography to confirm our diagnosis of the polyhydramnios. Then we will see the cause. Now treatment. In mild polyhydramnios, nothing we will do, only expected management, just monitoring we will need. There is no data support the dietary restriction of the salt in the fluid. We will do only the serial ultrasonography to assess the amount of liquor is increased or the same, or there is any other problem. Treatment is only warranted when there is moderate to severe polyhydramnios. Then we will do the management. Moderate to severe polyhydramnios. Now we will have to do some treatment. There is criteria for intervention. If patient has excessive maternal symptom like she has the discomfort, especially the respiratory problem, there is a risk of the preterm labor, then we have to do some management. Amniotic fluid, especially when it is more than 40 cm or the deepest vertical pool is 12 cm, then we will go for the treatment. We will see the underlying cause, then we will do this treatment. Like if she is diabetes, we have to control the diabetes. If patient is having the fetal anemia, then we have to correct the fetal anemia by transfusion, especially in the twin to twin pregnancy or RH isomerization. Then we will give the transfusion to the fetus. Then if there is a twin to twin transfusion syndrome, then we have to do the laser ablation of the placental anastomosis. So it will cause the treatment. There are some drugs which also cause the reduced production of this amniotic fluid. So first of all, it is a prostaglandin synthetase inhibitor. Indomethacin is the drug of choice. The mechanism of action is that it reduces the fetal urine production. It will antagonize the antidiuretic effect of the arginine vasopressin on the collecting tubules of the kidney, and the prostaglandin inhibition enhances the proximal tubule absorption of the water and the sodium. So it will cause the reduced production of the urine. So less urine will produce and less liquor will be performed. The dose of the indomethacin is 50 to 200 mg per day. Depend upon the amniotic fluid volume, we can increase or decrease the dose according to the response assessed by the ultrasonography. The interval between the commencing treatment and achieving response, it is variable. Sometimes it is 4 days up to the 20 days. Sometimes we have to take this one. Monitor the amniotic fluid volume to avoid the oligohydramnios. Sometimes there is the too much medicine we are giving, then at the end there is a severe oligohydramnios. So we have to monitor the dose according to the response on the ultrasonography. Now what are the side effects of the indomethacin? This drug we cannot give after 32 weeks of gestation. Only if she has the polyhydramnios and she is before 32 weeks of pregnancy, then we can use this medicine. Otherwise, it will lead to the premature closure of the ductus arteriosus, cerebral vasoconstriction of the fetus. So it is a side effect. then it will impair the renal function test of the fetus. So that's why we have to monitor the ultrasonography to see there is any Doppler ultrasound of the kidney or there is amount of Leica reduced, then we have to immediately stop this indomethacin. Fetal echocardiography we have to do to rule out the ductus constriction. Weekly we have to do the ultrasonography to see the effects of the indomethacin. Then Sulindac, it is another drug. It is also the prostaglandin synthase inhibitor. It is the effect has on the cyclooxygenase, less side effects profile on the fetus as compared to indomethacin. So we can use this medicine. Fetal blood levels are half of the maternal blood levels of the drug use. So the drug we are giving, it is a less effect on the fetus. It is the more safe as compared to the indomethacin. The dose is 200 milligram, 12 hourly we can give. The third treatment is amnioreduction. Mean we will remove the under ultrasonography the amniotic fluid. So it has the fetal risk loss is 0.3% procedure related. Procedure, how we will do this one? First of all, the skin site entry and track to target the area on the uterus where the amniotic fluid is free of placenta or any other structure. Mean there should be no placenta and there is no fetal parts, and there is a maximum amniotic fluid. We will first of all select this area. Then we will infiltrate the local anesthetic into the skin. We will use a needle 18 to 20 gauge with the aseptic measures. After this, we will start draining the deepest vertical pool up to the 5 to 8 centimeter, or when the AFI is up to 10 to centimeters achieved, then we can stop this amnioreduction. Amnioreduction may be repeatedly seriously. We can do bi-weekly, weekly according to the amount of the Leica. But there are the side effects. During this amnioreduction, there can be placental abrasion, because when we are moving the amniotic fluid, placenta can disrupt from this place. It can lead to the premature labor and premature rupture of membrane, and sometimes due to this rupture of membrane there is a choriomnitis. Now if patient has the polyhydramnios, when we will deliver the patient? At 38 weeks, due to the increased size of the unstable lie, because Leica is too much, this head will not engage, there is the increased chances of the unstable lie. So we have to deliver at 38 weeks. We will not wait for the spontaneous delivery or some other measures. So 38 weeks we have to plan. Operative delivery in case of the additional factors with polyhydramnios. So first of all we will stabilize the induction of the labor, then we will deliver the patient. Thank you.